Hi and welcome to another part of the JavaScript tutorials about DOM, and in this part we're going to talk about one of the most important concepts in JavaScript and DOM called nodes and navigation. So here, as you can see, we have one of the most basic kinds of elements inside of our document, HTML tag, head tag, title, and then body, which contains h1 and then p tag. So we're going to redefine this in another way. Imagine that this is a tree and it has different nodes. So the root node here is HTML. It has one child, actually two children, head and body, and then the head has one child called title, and body also has two children, h1 and p. So here we can say that head is a parent of title, and head and body share one parent, which is HTML, and HTML as a root node has no parent. So except for the root node, other nodes have one parent, and they might have child or children. So for example, here title has one child called my title, right? And head has one child called title. Also, we can say that body and head are siblings of each other. So now let's play around a little bit with the JavaScript code. So as you can remember, first of all, let me here write a script and add it to my elements. So here, as you can see, we had document.getElementById, which was one of the most famous ones. So here, let me add ID for both of these elements or nodes. So for example, here I can say ID1, and for this one I can say ID equals 2. So right now I'm going to, so ID2 for example. So let's save this and now get element by ID. So for example, here I can say ID1 dot inner HTML, right? So as you can remember, we used to, for example, console log what it was instead of this one. So here let me put inside the parentheses and console log that in order to see what happens. So let's save this and run it using live server. So as you can see here, we have my heading and my paragraph. So and the name is my title. So as you can see, it shows, let me show the inspect elements in the console, and here we have my heading as the ID1. So imagine that we want to rewrite it using the nodes. So let me just make it smaller and push it this way. So right now let's, it's easier to work with. So right now let's write it in a way with, that we can work with the nodes. So here I can say, for example, first child, and then instead of the first child I can set node value. So this is exactly the same as saying dot inner HTML. So let me check if I've written right. So node value with the capital V and with the small v, and the first child is also correct. So now let's save this, and as you can see, it shows exactly the same result as that one. So these two are the same. Now let's say that we want to change the inner HTML of ID2 with ID1. Right, so here I can write ID2, and then I can make this equal to ID1. So let me copy and paste this part of it, and I can say that, so let's remove the console log as well, because we want to change the inner HTML of ID1. So I can say inner HTML. So as you can see, so we seem to have got the problem. Let me check that. Document.getElementById inner HTML, and this is the node value. So I think you need to write it in a very different way. So node value, let's press Ctrl X and cut it. So make this equal to this one, and so this is ID2, this is ID1. So let's save this, and as you can see here it has changed. As you can see, we have my heading. So it used to be my paragraph. So my paragraph has been changed to my heading because we've copied the context or the text instead of the inner HTML of h1 into the p tag, which is ID2. Now imagine that we have another p tag here. I'm going to call this ID equal to my ID. So my ID, and then close this one and put nothing inside of it. So now imagine that we want to put all of the document element, all we have right over here inside of this p tag. So we have one h1 tag and other p tag. There are two ways in order to do that. The first one is to get all we have inside of the body, because all of what we have inside of our document element is the body tag. So I can say that document, first of all, document.get element by ID, get element by ID, and then the name of the ID is my ID, and then I can say that dot inner HTML, which is equal to document dot body here. So here, because we're going to mention the body, we're going to say body dot inner HTML. So it will copy and paste everything we've got inside of the body tag to our p tag with the my ID. So let's save this, and as you can see, it has copied and pasted instead of the other p tag with the demo with the my ID ID. So there's another way to do this, which is writing document dot get element. So let me copy and paste what we have right over here to make this faster. Document dot get elements by ID, inner HTML, copy it and paste it right over here. So let me see. Now what I want here is, so there seems to be something wrong. Yes, we have two documents, and here instead of body I can write document element. So we have the option that inner HTML, which is the same, but the difference here is that imagine that we have some kind of tag outside of the body tag, and then we want to also copy that one as well. So the first one, the document.body, will only copy and paste whatever is inside of the body tag, but the second one will copy and paste the entire document element. So let's save this, and as you can see, we have the other result, which is my heading, right? So this is another way of doing it. And the interesting thing is that we have one p tag, but we have two copy and paste of that instead of the p tag. So actually, instead of the p tag, we have 4 elements, meaning that this second copy and paste has not removed the elements of this one, this copy and paste. So it hasn't removed what we had inside of the p tag right over here. Also imagine that you want to see what is the name of the node related to one of the documents. So for example, here I can write console.log. So you know the ID, but you want to know what is the name of the node, or what is the name of the tag. So here we have a code to cover that. So I can here say document.get element by ID, get elements by ID, and then I can here enter, for example, the name ID1, and then I can say that I can use the property node name in order to see what is the name of the node related to that ID. So let's save this, and instead of the inspect elements, you will be able to see that we have h1 as the name of it. So h1 is here with the ID 1, so that is correct. So that is the way you can find the name of the node. So knowing the concept of the nodes help you in order to see, in order to retrieve the name of the tag or name of the node by knowing the name of the ID. And also it helps you retrieve whatever is inside of that node. So here, as you can see, we've written first child, or instead of that, you can write the index of that child and be able to retrieve what is the node value. So in order to cover that, for example, we can say the child nodes, and then the index 0. So and then the node value. So as you can remember, we had instead of the child node, we had the first child. So imagine that we want to get the index 0, which is the first child, and then print it, and then just make it equal to the ID2 tag. So in order to do that, I can Control S, right, Control S, and exactly the same thing will happen. And for you to better see that, here I can say, for example, my ID, and write something inside my ID. So for example, Q here, and so I know it doesn't make any sense, but this is just for practice, so we can do this. And I can write my ID, so I hope that is true, and yes. So as you can see, there are all Q's right over here. And so let's write 1, Control S, and as you can see, it changes because this is we are referring to the child number 1. So the child, what is the child number 1, or the index 1? And that is p tag, right? So my paragraph. So we've actually written my paragraph inside of the, oh, actually it doesn't have any child because this is my ID. So let's change this to, because all of them has only one children, so doesn't change anything because they only have the index 0. So there we go. Let's save this, and as you can see, it changes as well. If I change this to ID2, save this, it will show exactly the same thing. And if I change this to first child, we will still have the same result. So first child, and so let me fix this and save this. As you can see, exactly the same result will appear. So that's it for this part of the tutorial, and in the next part we're going to continue with the nodes.